You know, if you want to understand what really moves the stock market, you have to look past the daily noise. Because the real story, the force that truly sets the direction, is being written by a handful of giants who are operating just out of sight. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain.
Take a look at this number, 70% plus. Think about that for a second. More than 2/3 of all the trading, all the buying and selling on any given day isn't from people like you and me. Nope, it's controlled by this small, elite group of players whose scale is so massive it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. So yeah, the big question is, who are these titans of trading? Well, they're known as institutional investors, and really, understanding them is the key to understanding how the market actually works behind the scenes. All right, let's jump right in. First up, we're going to get properly introduced. We'll find out exactly who these market giants are and all the different shapes and sizes they come in. So, at its core, an institutional investor isn't a person. It's a massive organization. Think a huge company or a fund that pools together just enormous amounts of money and invests it for other people. They're basically the money managers for the biggest pools of cash on the planet. And we're not talking about just one type of player here. These guys come from all corners of the financial world. You've got mutual funds, maybe like the ones in your retirement account, pension funds managing money for millions of retirees, massive insurance companies, super sophisticated hedge funds, university endowments, and even sovereign wealth funds that control the fortunes of entire nations.
So what's their secret sauce? Well, it really comes down to three huge advantages. First, they manage trillions with a T of dollars. Second, they have armies of professional analysts digging up information 24/7. And third, and this is a big one, they get direct access to chat with the CEOs and CFOs of companies. That's a level of access an everyday investor can only dream about.
Okay, so they're huge, they're smart, and they've got access. But how does all that size actually translate into real power in the market? Let's break down that ripple effect. It really is a tale of two different worlds. See, when you or I make a trade, it's like dropping a tiny pebble into a vast ocean. A small ripple, right? But when an institution makes a move, their massive capital doesn't just make a ripple, it creates a wave that can literally carry the entire market along with it. The difference in scale is just everything. And this leads to a really simple but kind of mind-blowing point. When an institution decides to pour millions or even billions of dollars into one stock, that sheer volume, that overwhelming demand, can actually push the price up. They aren't just playing the game, their actions can change the score. Knowing these giants are so powerful is one thing, but the real question for us is, how can we decode what they're doing? I mean, what are their actions actually telling us about a stock?
The key metric you got to know is called institutional ownership. It's just a simple percentage that tells you how much of a company's stock is owned by these big players. You can think of it as a signal, a little clue about what the so-called smart money is thinking.
Now this is where it gets interesting, because high ownership, it's a real double-edged sword. On the one hand, yeah, it's a huge vote of confidence, a stamp of approval from the pros. But on the other hand, if a stock is mostly owned by just a few big funds and they all decide to sell at once, look out below, because that stock price can fall and fall fast.
And what about low ownership? Well, on the flip side, that's not always a bad sign. It could actually mean you've stumbled onto a hidden gem, a fantastic company that's just flying under the radar of the big guys for now. It's got plenty of room to grow before they all pile in.
Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. This all sounds like top secret insider information, right? There's no way we can actually see what these massive funds are buying and selling. Or can we? Believe it or not, we can. And it's all thanks to a little document called a 13F filing. See, every quarter, these large institutions are required by law to report all their holdings to the regulators. And a little while after that, that report becomes public, giving all of us a sneak peek into their portfolios. All right, let's land the plane here and bring this all together. We know who they are, we know the power they have, and we even know how to track their moves. So what's the big takeaway for your own investing? If there is just one thing you remember from all this, please let it be this. Looking at institutional ownership is a fantastic tool, but it's only one tool in the toolbox. It's one piece of a much larger puzzle. It should never, ever be the only reason you decide to buy or sell a stock. And you've got to keep a few things in the back of your mind. Remember that 13F data is old news. It's backward-looking. By the time you see what a fund owned 3 months ago, they might have already sold it.
And of course, just because some genius investor bought a stock last quarter, that's absolutely no guarantee it's going to go up tomorrow.
So keeping an eye on the giants can definitely give you an edge, but it's really just the beginning of your own homework. Still, it's pretty fun to think about, right? If you could get a real-time live feed of any single institution's trades, whose playbook would you want to follow? And what do you think you'd learn?